Which of the following 16 bloodlines are your ancestors? These are the species that have uniquely tempered the human body for survival against the most brutal challenges in human history. 1. The African Pygmy Origin, deep forest adaptation. The African Pygmy origin stems from the deep forests of the Congo Basin, where the dense canopy, constant humidity, and chemically complex ecosystem shaped one of the most specialized human adaptations on Earth. For tens of thousands of years, groups like the Aka, Baka, and Mbuti have lived in an environment rich in wildlife but nutritionally, quote, unpredictable, requiring bodies that could withstand frequent exertion, heat, and infection. Their small body size minimizes caloric needs and allows for agile movement through thick bush. High baseline immunity helps fight off parasites and chronic wounds that would debilitate outsiders, permitting long foraging trips under strenuous conditions. These populations show a high frequency of fast-acting detoxification genes, such as NAT2 and variants in the cytochrome P450 family, which allow them to neutralize plant defenses found in bitter tubers, nuts, seeds, and certain fungi. This adaptation turned challenging rainforest foods into safe, usable energy, providing a dietary safety net when game was scarce or famine threatened. Modern transitions reveal their trade-offs. Bodies optimized for sparse, wild diets may struggle with processed foods or high salt intake, increasing metabolic stress in new environments. Across the rainforest, their origin stands as a testament that human endurance can be biochemical as much as it is physical. 2. The Gran Chaco and Pampas origin, wilderness persistence. The Gran Chaco and Pampas origin is rooted in the hot, semi-arid lowlands of northern Argentina, Paraguay, and southern Bolivia, regions where summers reach extremes and food arrives in erratic rhythms. For millennia, indigenous groups like the Kam, Wichi, and Pilaga developed physiological traits shaped by heat, scarcity, and constant movement across wide-open plains. Many individuals descend from ancestors who traversed, quote, vast distances on foot, lending these populations a natural comfort with sustained activity. High sweat gland density, inherited from ancient lineages, supports efficient cooling in the harsh climate. Their lean build and long limbs also efficiently dissipate heat, a body structure more suited to subtropical grasslands than freezing forests. These populations often exhibit exceptional, quote, dehydration tolerance, maintaining stable circulation and core temperature even when water is restricted. Simultaneously, their metabolism switches smoothly between burning, quote, carbohydrates and fats, a trait tempered by cycles of feast and famine. This flexibility protects muscle during fasting periods, conserving energy when food is scarce and preventing metabolic collapse during extreme exertion. Modern changes introduce their own quote-unquote risks. A metabolism tuned for scarcity can struggle with constant, quote, caloric abundance, contributing to increased diabetes rates as traditional lifestyles fade. Through it all, this origin reflects a lineage built for, quote, persistence. Bodies shaped to withstand hot winds, long treks, and the land's unpredictable generosity. 3. The Hmong Mien origin, life in the clouds. The Hmong Mien origin emerges from the steep highlands of southern China and northern Indochina, where villages cling to mountain ridges and daily life occurs across thousands of vertical feet. Generations spent farming on quote-unquote terraced slopes, carrying goods between valleys, and navigating thin, cold air have shaped a population familiar with long climbs and constant movement. Mountain life rewards balance, stamina, and adaptability. People of this origin often exhibit strong leg strength, reliable oxygen use at moderate altitudes, and exceptional sure-footedness. Their mixed agriculture foraging diet encourages metabolic flexibility, allowing them to switch between lean staple vegetables and concentrated rice-based energy sources. This ecological and cultural, quote, synergy supported a lifestyle where effort was constant and the terrain defined every task. Many Hmong Mien individuals retain the fully active ancestral ALDH2 enzyme, alongside the highly efficient ADH1B variant, rapidly breaking down alcohol and clearing toxic intermediaries almost completely. Unlike neighboring East Asian populations that evolved the, quote, Asian flush mutation, these highland groups diverged early, never adopting the blocking pathway. The result is a, quote, metabolic process that handles fermented beverages with uncommon ease, converting them cleanly into usable energy. However, this advantage lacks built-in safeguards. Without the flushing reaction, overconsumption can become a modern risk. Across the mountain slopes, this origin reflects a physiology tuned to altitude, effort, and the clarity of an older metabolic design. 4. The Nilotic origin, steppes on the savanna. The Nilotic origin stands tall in the great Rift Valley of East Africa, home to peoples like the Dinka, Maasai, and Kalenjin. Here, the combination of high altitude and equatorial heat created a unique evolutionary pressure: the need to cool the body without dehydrating. This shaped the linear physique, long limbs and slender torsos, which maximizes surface area for heat dissipation, adhering to Allen's rule. But the adaptation runs deeper. Many individuals in this lineage possess high, quote, lung capacity and efficient hemoglobin variants that optimize oxygen utilization in the thin mountain air. Tendon structure, particularly the Achilles tendon, often acts as high-efficiency springs, recycling energy with every stride. This biomechanical efficiency makes this origin legendary for, quote, endurance running and covering vast distances across the savanna with minimal caloric cost. The trade-offs are subtle. Such specialized heat-dissipating structures can struggle in extreme cold, and the metabolism is finely tuned for an active, herding lifestyle. The Nilotic origin reflects the perfect marriage of, quote, anatomy and geography, a body built to run forever beneath the African sun. 5. The Finno-Ugric origin, warmth in the ice. The Finno-Ugric origin formed across the, quote, northern regions of Europe, among the Finnish, Sami, and Karelians, who endured frozen lakes, dim winters, and months of near silence under the snow. Survival here demanded more than tolerance. It required steadiness in an environment that was rarely forgiving. Seasonal biology became finely tuned. Bodies adjust smoothly to extreme shifts in daylight, maintaining sleep, mood, and energy through long polar nights and endless summer days. Cultural practices, like saunas and cold plunges, reinforced this physiology, training circulation for rapid adaptation instead of shock. Compact structure and efficient fat distribution further aid thermal balance without undue strain. The most distinctive underlying advantage lies in the ability for quiet heat production. Finno-Ugric populations show strong activation of brown adipose tissue, driven by variants in thermogenic genes like UCP1. Instead of relying on violent shivering, their bodies convert calories directly into stable, quote, internal warmth. Core temperature remains remarkably steady even at rest or while sleeping in sub-zero conditions, conserving energy while protecting vital organs. The heat rises quietly, steadily, and without fatigue. But this adaptation has modern drawbacks. A metabolism built to burn fuel for warmth can conflict with a sedentary lifestyle, increasing cardiovascular risk if activity declines. Nevertheless, this origin reflects a rare evolutionary fine-tuning, bodies that meet the cold not with resistance, but with calm, continuous warmth. 6. The Caucasus. Origin, diversity shield at the crossroads. The Caucasus origin is centralized in the mountainous regions of Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, where steep valleys and centuries of migration created one of Eurasia's most genetically diverse populations. This diversity is especially focused on traits related to disease, quote, resistance. High overall genetic variation reduces the chance of pairing harmful, quote, recessive genes, contributing to lower incidences of certain inherited disorders. Mountain life selected for robust cardiovascular ability and, quote, antioxidant genes, while generations living at the cultural and geographic crossroads along the Silk Road corridor fostered adaptability to new foods, climates, and pathogens. These strengths may all contribute to the exceptional, longevity found in certain Caucasus community groups. Caucasus populations also show unusually high, HLA heterozygosity, meaning individuals often carry two different versions of key immune genes. This broadens the, range of pathogens their immune cells can recognize. It acts as a genetic, safeguard, enhancing defense against unfamiliar infections and helping communities recover faster from epidemics. However, this robust immunity carries a trade-off: heightened inflammatory responses and a slightly higher risk for autoimmune conditions. Caucasus populations reflect a long history of survival in a crossroads region where diversity became the greatest biological shield. 7. The Pashtun origin, strength of the high mountains. The Pashtun origin evolved in the harsh highlands of Afghanistan and Pakistan, where steep valleys, thin soil, and long journeys shaped bodies built for resilience. Life between the Hindu Kush and arid plains required people who could move, adapt, and sustain themselves on whatever their livestock and sparse crops provided. Many Pashtun communities display natural endurance on rough terrain, reflecting a heritage of herding livestock across mountains and steep passes. Their physique often balances strength with leanness, supported by a climate that rewards efficient heat dissipation in summer and reliable warmth retention in winter. Pashtun populations carry high rates of, lactase persistence, allowing lifelong milk digestion. Simultaneously, early reliance on, wheat and other grains favored individuals who could convert starches into steady energy without quick fatigue. Together, these adaptations created a system capable of turning yogurt, bread, and dry rations into sustainable power for demanding landscapes. These advantages carry modern caveats. Efficient, energy storage can lead to weight gain with a sedentary life, and a high dairy diet can increase cardiovascular strain in urban settings. Nevertheless, the Pashtun origin reflects a, physiology tuned for the mountains and migration, strength drawn from simple foods, and the stamina to cross steep horizons. 8. The Celtic origin, adaptation to northern light. The Celtic origin traces its roots through cultures that once spanned Europe, from the, Atlantic coasts of Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, to ancient communities in France and Central Europe. These regions share landscapes of short summers, long winters, and faint northern light washing over wind-sculpted, cool shores. Under these conditions, high rates of, lactase persistence provided stable calories when growing seasons were short. Variants of the MC1R gene, especially prevalent in Ireland and Scotland, lighten skin to enhance vitamin D production under the weak sunlight. It is these traits that generate the unique red hair deeply tied to Celtic folklore. Alongside this, a unique HFE gene variant boosts iron absorption, hypothesized to guard against anemia during famines or protein-poor winters. Together, these traits forged a physical build suited to the nutrient-scarce and, dim light landscape of the North Atlantic. These advantages come with modern, precautions. Fair skin is highly vulnerable to sunburn and intense sunlight, and the Celtic iron gene can cause iron overload if two mutated copies are inherited. Regardless, the Celtic origin reflects a long-term adaptation to scarcity, turning feeble light and modest diets into enduring strength. 9. The Manchu origin, energy from grains in winter. The Manchu origin formed on the vast, freezing plains of, Northeast Asia, regions where long winters, early agriculture, and shifting empires shaped bodies that thrived on both hardship and harvest. Descendants found today across northeastern China and parts of Siberia carry the physiological fingerprints of a landscape defined by cold air and carbohydrate-rich foods. Northeast Asian populations often maintain stable energy based on cereal grain diets. Their facial morphology, broad cheekbones, insulated sinus cavities, subtly warms the air they breathe, and their body structure tends toward compact power suited for life in sub-freezing seasons. Manchu groups often carry multiple copies of the AMY1 gene, which floods saliva with amylase that rapidly breaks down millet, wheat, and rice into ready fuel. This fast glucose access combines with heat-conserving traits, shorter limbs, stocky torsos, and adapted circulation to maintain warmth during long outdoor months. Together, these characteristics created bodies that turned cereal grains into steady power while remaining comfortable in the deep cold. But there are modern caveats. Efficient, starch digestion can encourage blood sugar spikes with constant refined carbs, and the compact structure can gain weight quickly in a sedentary life. Yet the Manchu origin remains a testament to, survival, shaped by frost and field, drawing energy from humble grains and resilience from winter itself. 10. The Native American origin, journey through ice. The Native American origin charts a path through the icy corridors of Beringia, where a population was isolated for millennia before expanding across a continent of glaciers, deserts, and dense forests. This Beringian standstill acted as a powerful genetic filter. It selected for high metabolic efficiency and the ability to process protein-rich diets when plant foods were non-existent. The prevalence of type O blood in many groups suggests a historical bottleneck caused by infectious diseases, where this blood type offered a survival advantage. As these populations moved south, they adapted to diverse biomes, but retained a core metabolic thriftiness engineered for the severe volatility of the Ice Age. Genes related to fatty acid oxidation allowed them to thrive on hunted game and pemmican. Today, the rapid introduction of refined sugars and flours clashes fiercely with a metabolism built for the erratic rhythms of the hunt, leading to high rates of diabetes. Nevertheless, this origin reflects an epic, journey of survival, bodies tempered in ice to master a new hemisphere. 11. The Germanic and Nordic origin, strength in the shadows. The Germanic and Nordic origin is rooted in the dense forests and gray coasts of, northern Europe, where the sun hangs low and the cold seeps into the bone marrow. From the Rhine to Scandinavia, these environments demanded bodies that could extract maximum, energy from limited resources while retaining heat. This lineage is marked by one of the highest rates of, lactase persistence on Earth, allowing adults to derive crucial calories and hydration from milk when crops failed in the frost. Greater average height and limb length in some Germanic groups serve not only as leverage for heavy labor, but also potentially as a method of, thermal regulation in the distinctly seasonal climate. Light pigmentation in eyes and hair, controlled by HERC2 and OCA2 variants, evolved to maximize light absorption in the perpetual twilight. At the cellular level, adaptations in the FADS genes allow for efficient processing of plant fats when animal sources are scarce. However, modern life reveals its, trade-offs. Light traits impart high sensitivity to UV damage, and an immune system bored by a lack of ancestral parasites can turn inward, increasing autoimmune risks. Still, this origin stands as a testament to, resilience in the shadows, finding fuel in milk and strength in the cold. 12. The Turkic origin, endurance on the frozen steppe. The Turkic origin stems from the vast landmass of, Central Asia, prominent in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan, with deep roots in the Altai Highlands and Siberia, where the early Turkic peoples first formed. These regions of freezing winters, open grasslands, and high-altitude migration shaped a, genetic profile, focused on stamina. This origin reflects a body adapted to environmental extremes, efficient heat retention in sub-zero temperatures, steady oxygen use at high altitudes, and an immune system tempered by close proximity to livestock and recurring steppe epidemics. These traits formed the biological backbone of nomadic life. One of the most distinctive advantages appears in oxygen-regulating genes. Certain Kyrgyz and Altai populations carry variants in EPS1, a gene also prominent in Tibetan Highlanders, allowing stable oxygen utilization without producing excessive red blood cells. This protects the heart, prevents blood thickening at elevation, and supports long periods of exertion in thin air. Practically, it means sustained, stamina during high mountain migration, fewer symptoms of altitude stress, and a calmer physiological response where oxygen is scarce. However, these advantages come with modern challenges. A metabolism adapted to cold may increase risks of obesity and hypertension in sedentary urban environments, and historically heightened immune responses can increase susceptibility to certain autoimmune conditions. Nevertheless, this origin leaves a quiet imprint, proof of a people shaped by altitude, winter, and wide horizons, demanding both strength and adaptability. 13. The North African Origin, intersection of sand and sea. The North African origin is anchored between the sands of the Sahara, the peaks of the Atlas Mountains, and the Mediterranean coast. It is a land of extremes, requiring a physiology that can withstand the aridity of the desert and quote-unquote mountain snow within the same life cycle. Populations here, including the Amazigh people, have evolved distinct, genetic adaptations for dietary flexibility. Like their European neighbors, they evolved lactase persistence, but through a unique genetic mutation characteristic of African pastoralists, proving that evolution found two ways to solve the same problem. Their immune system was shaped by the crossroads of continents, carrying diverse HLA alleles to fight pathogens from both Africa and Eurasia. The skin tone here is highly adaptive, capable of deep tanning to block desert radiation while remaining light enough to synthesize vitamin D in winter. Modern challenges arise from the shift to sedentary urban lifestyles, where the desert-adapted ability to, retain salt and water can contribute to hypertension. The North African origin reflects a bridge between worlds, resilient enough for the dunes and adaptable enough for the sea. 14. The Arabian Peninsula. Origin: desert survival masters. The Arabian Peninsula origin emerged from deserts where temperatures are constant, shade is rare, and water is a precious, unpredictable guest. Across these landscapes, Bedouin, Yemeni, Omani, and Gulf Arab communities developed a, physiology built for conservation. Kidneys reclaim nearly every drop of fluid. Sweat glands reabsorb salt before it is lost. And the circulatory system remains stable even through hours of dehydration. This origin excels at fluid, balance. Urine remains highly concentrated even after salty meals. Sweat flows, but blood sodium is virtually unchanged. Thirst signals remain muted until severe dehydration, allowing for controlled water intake when sources are distant. Combined with moderately brown skin that shields the midday sun and traditional clothing that amplifies cooling, these traits create a body uniquely suited biologically for arid, endurance. But the adaptations forged for scarcity become fragile in modern abundance. The efficient salt retention now fuels widespread hypertension, and the muted thirst can mask dangerously progressing dehydration. And bodies optimized for dry heat often struggle in humid or sedentary environments. These vulnerabilities grow sharper as climates and lifestyles no longer mirror the ancestral deserts. Nevertheless, the Arabian origin reflects a remarkable balance. Human physiology, sculpted by sand, sun, and the discipline of survival. 15. The Yoruba and Igbo origin, power from the tropics. The Yoruba and Igbo origin emerged in the open, warm landscapes of, southern Nigeria, where dense forests meet the savanna. Over thousands of years, these environments molded populations with traits built for strength, resilience, and, heat tolerance. Dark melanin pigmentation protects against the harsh equatorial sunlight, conserving folate and shielding the skin from UV damage. Long limbs and efficient, cooling systems are prominent under the hot climate, supporting both stamina in warm conditions and stable physical output. At the microscopic level, red blood cell variations like the sickle cell trait or hemoglobin C provide protection against malaria, giving carriers a far better survival rate in childhood. Many Yoruba or Igbo individuals carry the active form of alpha-actinin 3, a gene linked to fast-twitch muscle fibers that activate with exceptional speed. Combined with naturally high bone density, the result is a body built for explosive force, rapid acceleration, powerful jumping, and withstanding impacts with surprising durability. Muscles contract with neat precision, and the bones hold firm beneath it. These advantages incur certain costs. The same sickle cell trait that guards against malaria can cause severe, quote, blood disease when both copies are inherited. And the dense, power-oriented muscular system may be less suited for elite long-distance performance. Despite this origin reflects a lineage shaped by the need to survive both predators and parasites, an enduring testament to strength honed under pressure. 16. The Austronesian Origin. Ocean navigators. The Austronesian origin charted the greatest, quote, maritime migration in human history, spanning from Taiwan across the vast Pacific to Hawaii, New Zealand, and Madagascar. This journey required bodies capable of surviving weeks on the open ocean in cold, damp winds with little food. Natural selection favored a, quote, thrifty genotype of the highest order. Variants like the CREBRF gene, prevalent in Polynesian populations, reduce basal metabolic rate and increase the efficiency of fat storage. On a canoe journey, this meant survival. The body could power itself using reserves when supplies ran bone dry. The physiology here also adapted for muscle burst and cold tolerance, essential for paddling through breaking waves and enduring constant sea spray without hypothermia. However, the modern context reverses this advantage. In a world of processed foods, this ultra-efficient energy conservation system leads to rapid weight gain and metabolic disorders. Regardless, the Austronesian origin reflects a lineage of navigators, shaped by the discipline of the horizon and the tolerance of the empty ocean. If you like this video, you'll definitely enjoy the next one. Therefore, please click subscribe and turn on notifications so we can bring you more great content in the next video.